After surviving a shipwreck, a man finds himself on a completely deserted island. There, he manages to survive for fishing and tries to build a raft to leave the place. However, every time he sets off with the boat, it is destroyed by a mysterious being. He soon discovers what causes this and establishes an unusual relationship. He wakes up on a beach, quickly gets up and walks along the beach trying to find someone. But the beach is extensive, and there is no one at either end. After walking a lot, he reaches the rocks and climbs them, having heard something beyond them. At the top of the rocks, he manages to see better where he is and soon realizes that the sound that made him climb was from a seal. He continues looking for someone or something that can help him, so he enters that place and walks among the branches near a bamboo forest. There he finds stagnant water wells and hydrates himself, but is startled by a thunderous sound amidst so much calm. From the top of the rock, he can see both sides of the island and realizes it's not very large. It's welcoming with lush vegetation, but seemingly deserted. No sign of human presence. Even calling out from the hilltop yields no response. He returns to the forest and walks until he finds a small natural lake. There, surrounded by vegetation, he immerses himself up to his ears and drinks water. At that moment, he sees something, a breadfruit tree. He climbs the tree, knocks down some fruits, and eats until he's satisfied. The next day, the man climbs some rocks to explore the other side of the island. He even tries his luck jumping between two stones, but after that, he realizes he has reached the edge of the island. Looking around, he spots a barrel in the sea, remnants of a shipwreck. He attempts to descend from the rock, but in doing so, his foot slips, and he slides down a steep drop between two rocks, falling from a dizzying height to a part that seems to have no way out. From there, it's impossible to climb back up. The rock is too smooth, and the slope is too steep. The man tests his luck underwater. He dives and soon discovers that there is no way out there either. He resurfaces and searches for another exit, but doesn't find one. Then, he goes back into the water and risks it all. In an even deeper dive, he finds a very narrow passage between the rocks, a cavity where a man like him could easily lose his life if trapped. Without hesitating about the risks, he pushes himself to the limit to avoid getting stuck, struggles to overcome that obstacle, and at times gets wedged, but perseveres until he finds the other side. His hip gets caught at the exit, and almost out of oxygen, he manages, with great effort, to pass his entire body through. Upon successfully grabbing it, it breaks, and all his efforts prove futile, almost losing his life for nothing. Now frustrated, he gazes towards the horizon, and another idea comes to mind. He then heads into the forest, begins collecting bamboo branches, and brings them back to the beach. As night falls, the man lies down on the sand, for it has been a very long day. The day dawns on the island, and our character finishes building his raft. All that remains now is to launch it into the sea. He pushes the raft to the coral reef and boards it. Still very close to the island, something hits beneath the raft. The man looks to the side, but a second hit is much stronger than a first, shattering the raft. He dives, looks around, but sees nothing. Then he returns to the island and shouts, furious with the unknown force that prevented him from leaving. He disappears again into the bamboo, determined to get back to work without delay. While collecting bamboo, he is alerted by a sudden absence of sound, as if nature had suddenly fallen into complete silence. He returns to work and once again lays out several bamboo sticks on the beach to build another raft. Soon, he ventures back into the water, passes the coral reef, and heads towards the open sea once more. Dead again, he hears something. He dips his head underwater, on the lookout, but nothing surfaces. Time seems to freeze for a moment. Just when it appears that the danger has passed, the raft is struck again. The raft shatters and sinks once more. He manages to swim to the coral reef and pauses to catch his breath. The man doesn't seem to be doing well. He returns to the island, spitting out seawater. His latest escape attempt has drained him. He's alone, desperate, and injured. The weather on the island seems to turn hostile, so he lies down and simply rests. On his third attempt with the raft at sea, he is on high alert. The boat moves slowly, as there is not much wind. Then, once again, the danger emerges, and for the first time, he manages to see what has been tormenting him. It's a massive red turtle that seems intent on sinking his raft every time. The man readies his weapon, trying to fend off the creature, but to no avail. Once again, the monstrous turtle rises from the depths and destroys the raft. He falls into the water, and as he is underwater, the animal swims towards him, and then, suddenly, for no apparent reason, the turtle swims away. The man resurfaces, gasping. He has had the scare of his life. That man returns to the island, beside himself, filled with rage, and as he screams in fury, he sees the turtle again, this time on the beach, in its territory. The man rushes down, armed with bamboo, charges towards the turtle, and strikes it with all his might. The stick breaks with the force of the blow. He then grabs the turtle's shell and, with the strength of his anger, manages to flip the shell upside down. But that's not enough for him. So, he jumps onto the turtle's belly like an enraged child, throws sand in its face, and walks away. He submerges into the sea and bathes for a long time, as if washing his hands, either to forget what he did or to regain self-control. When he returns from the bath, he walks around the turtle to observe it but moves on. He starts building another raft, just a few meters from the turtle, still lying on its back and looking miserable. It's mid-afternoon, and the sun is intense. The turtle's agony must be terrible, but the man doesn't want to dwell on it. He watches from a distance and then goes out to fish for his dinner. When he returns from diving at sunset, his anger has finally subsided. Once again, he approaches the turtle, and he realizes that its flipper is no longer moving. Perhaps it is on the brink of death. He hesitates, wondering if he should try to save it. The next day, he rushes to the turtle, still lying on its back, motionless and dying. He kneels beside it, touches its flipper, and tries with all his might to flip it over, but without success. It seems heavier than before, or perhaps the man's strength has diminished. He sees the turtle's head hanging miserably. He runs to get his bamboo container and pours some seawater onto its surface. He does it several times, but the animal doesn't move. Then he kneels beside it, devastated. The man and the turtle sleep that night on the sand. In the first light of dawn, a sinister crackling sound awakens the man. He sits up and observes, realizing that the turtle's shell has split open on the belly. The man returns to the sea, feeling remorseful and miserable. In that brief moment, something happens with the turtle. When he looks back at the turtle, there is a woman's arm instead of the flipper. There is a face and legs of a woman emerging from the shell. Instinctively, he recoils. It's too supernatural, but the woman is still there, with her eyes closed, unresponsive. The man walks around her, wondering if she is alive. He approaches and can feel her breathing. She is breathing softly but steadily. He stands up and goes in search of fresh water. However, when he gives her water, he can barely moisten her lips. Soon, the woman starts feeling very hot. The man gathers some branches among the bamboo and brings them back to the beach. He hastily constructs a small shelter with bamboo and leaves, and he tends to her like a guardian. The woman appears to be in a deep sleep, almost in a comatose state, yet her face seems calm and kind. The island starts to rain under the dim gray light of dawn. Soon, the man goes in search of more branches to shield her, but when he returns, only the shell remains. The woman has vanished. He runs to the beach, walks along the water's edge, and searches every corner of the island, but in vain. He lies down. The night is coming to an end. Upon waking, he hears something. He looks around, and when he gazes towards the sea, she is a little farther away. The man jumps for joy and approaches her, but he startles her, and she cowers. The man stops and gestures to assure her that he won't harm her. He then realizes that she is naked and modest. He takes off his shirt, places it on the sand, and discreetly moves away into the bamboo. He waits, listening intently. When he returns to the beach, the woman is gone again. Once more, he searches the island, this time more calmly, almost serene. He walks through the bamboo forest and climbs the hill. He sits at the top, waiting. At that moment, he sees her on the beach below, just like he first saw the turtle. She has put on his shirt and is dragging her shell across the sand to carry it into the water. She looks up and sees the man watching her. She turns, exchanges a glance with him, and moves on, leaving the shell behind, as if it were a ritual. Now, the woman returns to the beach, far from the man, avoiding him. He stands there, not quite sure what to do. He looks at the horizon and sees the raft he is building. Yes, that's what he'll do. He'll also put his raft in the sea, as a symbol of their equality. He pushes the raft with a determined gesture and lets it go into the open water. From afar, hidden behind the row of bamboo, the woman watches him. He glides underwater and swims with acrobatic movements. Only then does the woman join him underwater. She surfaces, waits for him, and they continue swimming. The man and a woman return to the island in the moonlight. They reach the coral reef, and she seems to know the area well, showing him how to eat mussels. He looks at her in amazement. They feed on mussels, and the man is captivated by the woman. Suddenly, he is overcome by a thought, and in a flashback, he relives the moment he violently struck the turtle with bamboo. This horrible gesture awakens strong shame in him. She notices and shows her tenderness, revealing her face in a single gesture. Soon, the woman stops and turns to him. Then they embrace. Time passes and gives way to a child. A child appears and grows. The child is now 2 or 3 years old. He sits on his father's shoulders. Then, his attention is drawn to something near the sea, a bottle. The child returns to his parents to show them what he found. The father rises and starts drawing in the damp sand. First, their island. Then, farther away, a much larger land, more inhabitants and animals. The mother approaches. She also draws, but between the two lands, a turtle. The mother is there, leaning over a crack in the rock. There is a wild plant she is trying to gather. The father hands a basket to his wife, who places the plant in it while the child walks to the edge of the stone. He looks towards the horizon and then down to the sea below. He sees a turtle floating in the water. He sits on the rock to get a closer look when some seagulls fly by. So, he slips and falls off the cliff. Now he finds himself in the same pool where his father had fallen a few years earlier. The parents are horrified. The father, about to jump after him, is held back by the mother. The child sinks but recovers and swims underwater. When he surfaces, his mother signals him to go back underwater. Now he must successfully pass through the underwater crevice. The child takes a deep breath and then dives into the depths. He does it very well. Then he emerges on the other side of the rocks. He is swimming towards the surface when he sees the turtle, which is now also underwater. Never taking their eyes off each other, face to face in a silent mutual discovery. That child is now older, in adolescence. He knows the island like the back of his hand, always lively and having fun. The boy runs, not looking at his feet, in a sense of total freedom, as if he knows every stone, every crack in the rock, every slope on this side of the island. He spots 2 turtles swimming on the surface towards the open sea and follows them, farther and farther. On a normal day, the whole family is collecting seafood on the coral reef. The son, now an 18-year-old young man, after helping his parents with the gathered seafood, heads to the island with the nearly empty bottle to fill it up. He crosses the stretch of water that connects the coral reef to the island, somewhat surprised to see that the water level seems to have dropped. The mother, also kneeling, looks up at the sky, and a flock of birds flies by now, making a lot of noise. The water's edge has changed. It seems strange to them. It looks like it is slowly seeping out towards the open sea. After the birds passed, silence descends again. The son walks towards the lake, along the field bordering the bamboo forest. His terrified mother realizes it's a wave, a tsunami. The woman runs quickly. She grabs the man by the arm as she passes. The son tries a shorter path. He runs through the bamboo, and the wave is getting closer and closer. The son is almost reaching the last meters of the bamboo forest. It's then that he sees it too. Then he turns and runs through the bamboo again. The wave is very close, one after another. Like a card game, the bamboo leaves bend with the force of the impact. The wave reaches everywhere, destroying everything in its path, but then it suddenly stops, almost abruptly. Everything has been devastated, and then it ended. It was gone. There are dead animals here and there. Not a single bamboo is still standing. A pile of bamboo has formed in the middle of nowhere, and the boy is there. He slips through the cracks, emerging, and he contemplates the apocalyptic landscape of the stretched island. Absolutely everything is ruined. He looks around, searching, but there are no signs of his parents. He continues exploring the beach in search of his parents, but he sees nothing resembling a body. He descends the sandy slope and decides to cover the entire beach along the coast. He turns and heads there. Yes, it's his mother. She's lying curled up, but she's alive. Only her leg and face are injured. This son tries to help, but she pushes him away. She can take care of herself. So, the son goes to try to find his father as quickly as possible. He goes to the sea and dives. 3 turtles accompany him. They all swim together for a long time, searching. They find a last line of bamboo debris, but the father is not there. The boy, completely exhausted, leans on the shell of a turtle all night. The sun rises just above the horizon, and in the distance, there seems to be something. They approach. The father is there, with his arm gripping a bamboo. The man opens one eye. He sees his son in the distance, but as he waves slightly, he lets go of the bamboo. Then he sinks. He can't resist anymore. Doesn't have enough strength. He's only saved by one of the turtles, and his son pulls him back to the surface. The man looks more dead than alive. Later, at the coral reef, the mother watches and waits like a sentinel. She sees them, and she embraces her husband tightly. In the following days or weeks, the family begins to clean the island. Things need to be rebuilt, and they make 2 large bonfires, one far from the other. Days pass, and the young man, now an adult, feels how time elapses as he walks around the entire island reflecting on life. One night, he feels a calling. He dreams of entering the sea. With the tsunami stopped there, he goes to the top and sees his parents in the distance. When he wakes up, this affects him deeply. Days later, he decides to leave his parents and continue his life at sea with the turtles, his only friends and companions. Years pass, and the father and the mother age together on the island. The man and the women are around 80 and 75 years old, respectively. They walk slowly along the seashore. The man always watches the woman and reflects on everything they have experienced on the island. Although younger, the woman still has the energy to move forward. Days later, one night, as they sleep together, the woman senses that something has changed. She realizes that the man's breath has stopped, and surprised, she mourns the loss of her companion, who passes away while gazing at the starry sky. Later, she goes to the sea and becomes inconsolable. Without her son and now without her companion, she lies down beside him, touches his hand, and at that moment, she transforms again into a giant tread turtle. She turns slowly toward the sea and disappears into the ocean. Don't forget to support the channel, subscribe, like the video, share your thoughts about the movie, or continue here by choosing one of the videos on the screen. We'll stay around here. Until next time.